Good morning, Minnesota DFLers, and welcome to the DFL Daily. Richard Carlbaum here, Chair of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party. So great to be with you each and every day at 10:45, Monday through Friday, to make sure you have the message, the actions, and the tools to be empowered in this moment. Before we get into today's topic, just want to highlight a couple of things that's going on around the state. Tomorrow, June 24th, is going to be a busy one at 5 p.m. in Avon. There's a free Working Families Picnic, a great chance to bring the whole family out. I'm so excited that we're doing working family picnics again throughout the state between now and the mid-August before the state fair. This is part of our Working Family Picnics program this summer. Sign up to host your own or access our picnic basket toolkit at dfl.org/WFP. Connor will put that in the chat for us, or Brock, somebody will. Thank you so much. At the same time, tomorrow at 5 p.m. in Chatfield is the Rural Rally for Democracy, happening each week. At 6 p.m. tomorrow in Maple Grove, the SE37 DFL Book Club is meeting. And then at 7 p.m. in Burnsville, there's Door Knocking 101 for precinct leaders. This is so important. As you know, we're trying to hit as many doors as we can, this summer. And Door Knocking 101 is a great way for folks to get started when it comes to door knocking, especially for first time ever people who want to explore what that looks like. Then on Thursday, June 25th, you can head to Duluth for the St. Louis County 03 DFL Pizza Night starting at 5:30. Friday, June 26th at 4 p.m., there is the DFL Walleye Dinner in Park Rapids. And then Saturday, June 27th at 11 a.m., you can come out to Brownsville Days Parade in Brownsville. Always fun to do a parade. This weekend is Twin Cities Pride. This weekend is the Somali Festival. This weekend is the Hmong Festival. This weekend is going to be a busy weekend. We're going to be everywhere, all over the Twin Cities and all over greater Minnesota, engaging with folks in community. I'm really excited about the weekend ahead, and it's going to be exhausting. I'm thinking about Monday, and it's going to come very, very quickly. So check out all of these events and more at dfl.org/events. And make sure you bring someone new to the party out in community. All right. So we do this show every day because we want to keep you informed, keep you energized, and keep us all moving in the same direction. We wanted to flip the format again today, like we did once last week. And we want to give you the chance to ask questions. When we did this last week, a lot of folks submitted questions, and it was a great opportunity for us to really get to some of the questions that you've been wondering about. We're going to make this a regular feature of the DFL Daily as well moving forward. In case you missed it, here's how this works. Ahead of today's call, on yesterday's call, we put out a simple ask. Send us your questions. You can ask us anything. What's on your mind? What's frustrating you? What are you hearing at the doors? What's keeping you up at night? What are you concerned about? And once again, you delivered. You submitted lots of different questions, and we're going to get into them here in a second. A lot of awesome questions. And Connor Wickland, our digital director, is with us again today to help us wade through these questions. So Connor, welcome back to the Daily.
Glad to be here, Richard. And yeah, it was such a success last week. We have more questions this week than we have time to answer. So super excited to make this a regular thing. Keep those questions coming. I am saving the chat every day. And also I have that form I will drop in at the end of the call.
And Connor, any questions we don't answer on the call, we'll still respond to and make sure we get folks their individual answers.
Correct.
Maybe we should just create a document, actually, a roving doc that we put their questions in and their answers and then share it with everyone. Anyway,
Absolutely.
we'll do more back end work off screen. So let's
Awesome.
get started.
Yeah, let's get right into it. So first question today, with all of the seats flipping blue across the country, how do we capitalize on this momentum in rural areas in Minnesota that lack the infrastructure? This questioner asks that our ISD has been quiet for years and it feels like we're playing from behind right now.
Yeah, I appreciate this question because it names something that's real. National momentum doesn't automatically show up wherever you live, right? We have to work to make sure that momentum comes to our own community, and we have to build. And what I would say is, first off, when I started organizing in 2002 and 2004, we had these rural seats all over the state. We had Democrats representing rural parts of Minnesota everywhere. We had the 1st, the 7th, and the 8th congressional districts with Democrats representing them in Congress. I believe we can get back there. The way we do so is we start organizing as early as ever before, and we lean in consistently. So a year ago, more than a year ago, we started by investing in organizers and putting them throughout the state. That's paying off huge in this election cycle. That was an early bet that people wanted to be engaged, and that is the kind of investment I think we need to continue to make as a party. And so even if you feel like your Senate district is playing from behind, that's okay. You're going to catch up. And this is the kind of election cycle where you actually can catch up. So I just encourage you to lean on the state party and your Senate district for resources. We have organizing staff and tools specifically built for districts that may be feeling a little behind. You don't need to do this from scratch, and use the national momentum as a recruiting tool, not a strategy. People who've never door knocked before, knocked a door before, are paying attention right now because of what they're seeing in the media. That conversation is your opening to say, here's how you can get involved in your district this week. Playing from behind doesn't mean you stay behind. It means putting time in now to strengthen the bench before you ask the bench to perform. And that's what we're doing. So good question. Don't worry. We're going to bring everyone along.
Awesome. Let's keep it moving. This one is about protecting the process itself. Our question is, what action do you recommend to voters to help protect mail-in voting in Minnesota from the proposed changes to USPS rules and regulations?
This is the exact kind of question we want people asking because mail-in voting only works if people trust it and use it correctly. The most important action right now, I think, is simple. If you vote by mail, request your ballot early and return it early. Don't wait until the last possible week because any disruption to mail timelines hits latecomers hardest. Beyond your own ballot, the most powerful thing a volunteer can do is educate others on doing the same, especially seniors and voters in rural areas who may rely more heavily on voting by mail. And stay engaged with the policy fight. The Secretary of State's office tracks any proposed USPS rule changes that could affect Minnesota elections, and the DFL will be vocal anywhere those changes threaten access. If you hear something concerning, if you hear some concerning news about mail delays or rule changes in your community, tell us. Reach out to us. Chair@dfl.org is my email. I encourage you to send me an email if you hear of anything that feels concerning or fishy to you. Bottom line, vote early, educate your neighbors on how to vote early, and do what you can to prevent the possibility of delay. Let me say this as well. Um, we launched this week with our organizers throughout the state, actually a vote by mail metric where they are encouraged to sign people up to vote by mail. We believe in voting by mail. It's a safe, secure way to do so, and we're strongly encouraging people to use that this year.
And I will remind folks that our Secretary of State is currently on the ballot, so go out there and support Steve Simon so we can keep protecting mail-in voting in Minnesota. All right, next question. I think this one is important. What are the most persuasive talking points for fraud to use on the doors?
That's a good question. This is really important. I'm glad somebody asked this directly because it's clearly on the minds of voters right now, and dodging it is the worst possible thing we can do. So the first thing we need to do is make sure voters understand that we take fraud seriously. There's concern with some voters that they think Democrats have just tried to sweep it under the rug. That's not true. We're actually, the Democrats are the ones in the state legislature who have actually brought solutions and fraud fighting tactics to the forefront when it comes to legislative action. So here's my broad advice. And I want to make sure I keep this simple. Don't get into the weeds. Voters at the door don't want a sprawling explanation of how a specific program was exploited or who knew what when. They want to know one thing. Are we taking this seriously? So meet their energy. Keep the talking points high level and consistent. DFLers are working to prevent, detect, investigate, and prosecute fraud. Full stop. DFLers are working to prevent, detect, investigate, and prosecute fraud. Say it close to those words as you can because we've been testing these messages, and what lands for voters across the state is just this: reassuring them that we take it seriously, that we're preventing it, detecting it, investigating it, and prosecuting it. The attitude matters as much as the words, so don't get defensive. The instinct is to explain or minimize. If your instinct is to explain or minimize this issue, that could be read as dismissive. And it would really be hurtful in that conversation. So instead, lead with something like, we take this seriously and we're going to do the work to get it right. In fact, voters and taxpayers demand that of our elected officials. And I know in talking with legislators and Senator Klobuchar and everyone else running this year, they're serious as all out to make sure that we address this head on.
Awesome. I'm going to go back to Greater Minnesota for a second. This next question is, how are we reaching more rural voters?
Well, this is the question behind a lot of our strategy this cycle, and I talked about it a little bit earlier. We aren't reaching rural voters with a single tactic. We reach voters with presence over time and consistently showing up. Part of it is showing up in person, um, county fairs, parades, local events, places where people already are. If the only time a rural voter sees DFL activity is 2 weeks before an election, that's not enough. Part of it is recruiting local messengers, really thinking about who is actually delivering our message. A neighbor talking to a neighbor will always be the best way to get through to folks, whether you live in rural Minnesota, greater Minnesota, or in a city. We want candidates and volunteers who are from these communities listening to their neighbors and sharing their own stories with their own words. And part of it is being honest about what hasn't worked. We can't take uh, rural trust for granted, right? We have to organize and show up more than ever before, district by district, and this just takes time and energy. If you're in a rural area and feel like the party hasn't reached out to you enough, that's useful feedback for us. Tell us that. That's exactly the information that shapes the action we take.
That is a great lead into our final question here, because we can't start in October. We have to start now. Someone wrote in the chat this week, and I want to save it for last. How do I organize a door knock training?
Yes, I love this question because it's the kind of thing that turns enthusiasm into actual capacity. At the convention, at the DFL Humphrey Mondale dinner, I said our job is to turn the energy we feel into votes by November, and this is exactly what will do that. So start small and concrete. Reach out to your local DFL unit or your coordinated campaign organizer and ask them for assistance. They can give you training on how to launch a door knock. They can give you the material you need to help launch a door knock. Chances are there's already someone who's done this before or is already hosting an event that you can co-run with them. So you get that experience, right? You gain that confidence in doing so with somebody who is a little bit more experienced. It's important to connect with an organizer so you can get a list of voters from the campaign. We want to be working out of our van, the Voter Activation Network, in the coordinated campaign account to make sure that we're tracking these conversations very carefully. The training itself should cover two things: the script and how to have a conversation at the door. So people feel prepared at the door. A few minutes of role playing, actual conversations we usually do at these trainings, because reading the script and saying it out loud for the first time are two very different skills. And a quick walkthrough of the minivan app on our phone so that you understand how to track this data. Data only helps our candidates if it's entered into the van, right? Data does not exist if it is not in the van. And then this part does matter. Get people out on the doors the same day if you can, even for an hour. Training that doesn't lead immediately to a real door loses some momentum pretty fast. If you're not sure where to start, contact us directly, chair@dfl.org. I will help you get connected with your local organizer to make sure that you all launch a successful door knock. The opportunity we have before us is to listen to the voters. You'll see in our script, when you train on our script, the first question at the door is simply, how are you doing today? Like it's just a check-in question. It's not a immediate persuasion like we need to vote Democrat. It's literally, I'm a neighbor, I'm in the neighborhood. How are you doing today? That's it.
Awesome. Richard, that's all the questions we have for today. Once again, for the audience, super proud of so many of you having questions for us. I will drop the submission form again in the chat. If you have any questions at any point in the week, feel free to leave that in the Zoom chat. And you guys made this a very easy decision to bring back every week. So if you keep getting questions, expect one of these episodes next week.
Awesome. And Connor, this is right up your alley. The action today is something that you help manage here at the DFL. Here's the action today, and it's kind of unique. I know a lot of you all are on your different social media platforms, and I want to ask this simple question. Is there a content creator out there in the world that you pay extra attention to that you think align with DFL values and would be interested in working with us? We want to add to our content creator program. So if you could help them connect with Connor and our team, that would be amazing. Connor, put your contact information or whatever link you need in the chat. We are looking to add more content creators to this stable of content creators we have. This is what allowed us to go from 150,000 person reach to 11.8 million. Our content creators help us reach 11.8 million followers on their platforms. So if you have somebody maybe it's in your city, in your community, maybe it's just somebody in Minnesota that you follow that you think is super interesting, Connor and our team will reach out to them. Please make those suggestions. They're very helpful. Thanks, everybody. It's been 15 minutes. We got 133 days until the midterm elections on November 3rd. We're building this thing together. Thanks, everybody, for being part of the DFL Daily. We'll see you tomorrow. Let's go win this thing.